Call this meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I ask you to join me in a word of prayer, and then we'll have a pledge to the flag. Heavenly Father, we do come before you today to thank you for this day you've given us, and Lord, to thank you for the many blessings in life. And Lord, we just thank you most of all for the blessing of salvation through your Son, Jesus. Lord, we just ask you to be with those in the community that are sick and ill, and that, God, that you would just comfort them and heal them and give their family peace and comfort during that time. Lord, we just ask you to lead and guide us in this meeting today, that the things we do and the things we say and decide are the things that are right and pleasing in your sight. And we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business would be to approve the minutes of our July 2nd fiscal court meeting. I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Got a motion
Second.
by Marty, second by Jeffrey. Any questions, corrections? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next order of business is to review or approve an interlocal agreement between the Industrial Authority and the City of Franklin. If y'all recall, the last meeting or meeting before last one, I had shared some information about that. Apparently, when the city and the county do interlocal agreements with the Industrial Authority or really any other entities, that those agreements are supposed to either be approved by DLG or the Attorney General's office. And it was even some question about our occupational tax split agreements, but DLG states that the occupational tax split was part of the forming of the Industrial Authority, so that it's knowledge that there will be an occupational tax split. So if those percentages change, they don't necessarily require approval by DLG, because DLG had already approved that the authority would be funded by a split of occupational tax, and it's up to us to determine that. But any other agreement, like if the county were to enter an agreement solely with the authority, or like the city's attempting to enter an agreement solely with the authority, then it has to have approval of the other body of government before it can be processed. And then it would still have to go to the Department for Local Government or the Attorney General's office to approve. So, you know, you've got a copy of it on your portal of
Well, I'd just like to say I'm on the industrial board, and I think that there needs to be county representation on this agreement too. Not just, if you look on number 8 in B, it says the city manager and the authority chairman or his designee will be co-administrators of this agreement. Well, the county is carrying 25% of the industrial board debt on our books, and this agreement is to pay down on the principal debt, is what it says in here. So if by us carrying that much debt on our books, I think there needs to be a county representation on this, in this agreement too.
Well, that would be something that we would request, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the city has requested for their occupational tax to go a particular location, and we would have that same right as well.
Well, no, I think what Marty's saying, and Marty, correct me if I'm wrong, because I understand what you're saying, Myron, but I don't think that's what Marty's saying. What the city is suggesting to do is to give additional tax revenue that was not requested, but to give that additional tax revenue, they want the city manager to be co-administrator of those funds to determine where those funds go and what debt it applies to. And I think Marty's point is that a fourth of the debt that the authority has is on the books of the county, and actually none of the debt that the authority has is applied to the city. I mean, the authority has its own debt with buildings they have that have, lease tenants in them, and then the bond, which is the biggest of the debt, that's carried on our books. We have that. And I think what Marty's saying is that they're all right with this agreement, and he's all right with the city giving this additional money. It would be good if we had representation on the committee to determine where that extra money actually gets applied to.
Yeah, I think the county should be represented when if they're saying they're gonna determine how that money is gonna be spent. I think the county should have some say in that too, being as we carry the debt.
I don't personally have a,
And we all know from what we got into with this EEC committee with the planning and zoning, what happens if you only have a 2-member committee. So there ought to be 3 members on that.
I don't have a problem with these, I mean, that's what the city voted on, with their occupational tax. I don't have a problem with paying down your debt. I don't have a problem with that. So I guess that's a string that's attached to that 100% of the Stone Gibbons part.
Do what now?
That's a string attached, correct? I mean, everything they collect out of that part, the city occupational tax is going to be paid on the debt.
Well,
According to what this says.
at the meeting last week, they had an opportunity, they had money to pay, and they had $400,000, and I asked, could they pay it on the debt? And they said it would not be wise to pay it on the debt. And so when I asked why we needed this, nobody really could answer. But they had $400,000, and they decided to put it in their checking account because it draws 5% interest and the notes are financed at 1.5%. So I'm not sure how much debt they're actually going to pay with this, because they had an opportunity last week to pay off $400,000 of debt, and they didn't. And I understand what they're saying.
But that's what they're saying they're
It
gonna do
makes
with it,
sense to
so.
put money on interest at 5% and not pay off a debt that's at 1.5%. But we've heard a lot about paying off debt at the industrial board, and they had an opportunity to, and it wasn't the right thing, it wasn't the wise thing to do. I just think, all I'm saying is, I'm fine with this agreement. I just don't think the county should be left out in the dark, and we should not have any representation when it comes to paying off the debt, being as we carry debt on our books.
And Myron, I think it's worth noting too, that initially this agreement, as I understood it, was, okay, and I don't know the dollar amounts, but let's say that the annual debt obligation to the authority is $500,000 a year. I mean, I'm just using that number. If that's their annual debt obligation, that this money, whatever it generates, and at full capacity, this money should generate roughly $200,000. Initially, the $200,000 was going to be earmarked to pay additionally on debt. So like the authority would meet their $500,000 debt obligation annually, then have to pay this extra money to relieve even more debt. But in the last meeting, they said that was not the case, that they could use this $200,000 or whatever the money is to pay debt, and whatever they used to pay the debt would free up the money that the authority had been using to service their debt obligation to do other things. So, I mean, I don't know that we're really relieving debt any faster.
No, we're not relieving any debt.
Well, we could be. We could be.
But anyway.
So I think Marty's point again is that the agreement's all well and good. It's just as administrators to where these extra funds go, it would be nice to have some county representation. And I guess I think the thing is too, we can either vote in the affirmative that we're good with the agreement as it is, or we can vote in the negative that we're not good with the agreement as it is, or we can take no action, and in a certain amount of days, the no action is given basically. It's not saying we're okay with it, but we're not opposing it.
Yeah.
So it would happen anyway.
Yeah.
Can we we can put conditions on approval?
We can make conditions on any interlocal agreement.
Then we could have a motion to approve this interlocal agreement subject to county representation being a county representative as administrator of this agreement too.
That could be a motion.
So moved.
All right, so we got a motion to approve the agreement with adding a county representative as an administrator to the expenditure of these additional funds. And where you're reading that at is, if you're looking at the agreement on there,
Section 8.
would be paragraph 8B, where it just says the parties agree to designate the city manager and the authority chairman or his or her designee to be co-administrators of this agreement. I think the request is to just add language that the county has a co-administrator to oversee where these additional funds are expended.
So that would also apply when we vote on what we're gonna contribute.
Not on your basic splits, okay? On your basic occupational tax splits, they all just operate like they did from the beginning of the creation of the industrial authority. This is on money additional to what those occupational tax splits would be. But yes, if we were wanting to do, and I say we, the county government body was wanting to do some type of interlocal agreement with the authority, the city would have to agree to that. And it wouldn't be unreasonable if we wanted to have management of a certain amount of funds for the city to have a voice in what are we doing with these funds, since we cooperate the authority together. Counselor, are your wheels spinning?
No, I mean, you can do that and just either they'll agree to it or they won't. I mean, I'm just saying, certainly you can send it back subject to this particular change. Has this been brought to anyone's attention over at City Hall about this, about modifying it?
Yeah, well, it's been voiced in industrial board meetings for sure.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, might want to talk to the party, the second part, and see if you can
But it
voice the
says
concern.
it's mutually acknowledged and agreed with this one. So if we add what Marty's saying, what's it going to do for this one that we either have to vote for or just let it sit?
We would just send this back to say, hey, we agree with this, with one exception. We would like some county representation as administrators to these particular funds. And then I guess the city would either agree to add someone from the county
Not,
or not. And
I mean, yeah, that's right. They either agree or they don't agree.
yeah.
But then,
And my assumption, Scott, would be if we send it back and they do nothing, and then we do nothing with this original agreement, I guess it would eventually, that's a question for this guy, the city attorney, and the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's what-
You're getting beyond me. I don't
Yeah.
think it's unreasonable to ask for representation on debt relief,
question is-
especially when we're the ones carrying the primary part of the debt for the authority.
Question is, what happens if they say no? Does it stop the whole thing, or does it go forward
and
without?
do they get nothing?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to those
Yeah.
questions.
I don't know off the top of my head is the short answer, but I think the first item of business is contacting, if that's what you're wanting to do, certainly I understand that, then you need to contact City Hall and talk to the folks over there and say, we would really like to, this is what we would really like to do. Is there a way we can make this happen? Because you catch more flies with honey than you do
You want to
vinegar.
talk to them before the next meeting, table it to the
So
next meeting?
let me ask you this. Does this require any action of the court other than just a nod to me to say, hey, reach out to the authority in the city and say, here's a question the court has? I mean, I'm just asking for guidance, like, where do we go? What do we do?
Learned in law school, the better practice would have been to had this conversation with City Hall before today. That did not happen, which law school also says most of the time doesn't happen. So we're getting past the better practice. I think you can pass this today, but I think you need to make an immediate phone call after the meeting to City Hall to try to see, if y'all can have a discussion about this to see if this can be done and go from there. I don't know passing it or not. I mean, if you want to go on and vote for it and that way say this is what we've done and this is why, that's,
Well, I would think in that scenario, Sam, and I didn't go to law school, so I don't know what law school teaches on this. But I would think that if we want to pass it and address that, I think we would follow Marty's motion that we are in agreement with this. We would like
And
to add this.
I'm okay with that, but I'm
Okay.
just saying, what you're gonna need to do, my respectful suggestion would be to immediately contact them and see, you know, if they are amenable to this particular change.
All right, so we have a motion. We just
Anybody
need-
want to repeat that motion?
Well, the motion would be to be in agreement to this interlocal agreement with the exception of putting a county representative,
No, contingent on,
contingent upon having a county representative as co-administrators to these extra funds
in paragraph whatever.
in paragraph 8B.
And you need a second.
And I would need a second on that. I'm glad to second it. So if there's no more question or discussion, all in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
All right, that motion fails. All right.
That motion, but what about this? The way they originally had written it?
We didn't take any action on that, no action, let's
No
do it.
action, okay.
Next is review approve first reading of zone change ordinance number 920.125. This is zone change from ag to I-2 at the corner or intersection, I guess, of Witt and Carroll Harris Road. And this was a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. We need a motion and a second to approve this zone change request.
So much.
I got a motion by Marty.
But if it does get a second, I'd like, we can discuss something after,
Okay.
if it does get a second.
Are y'all all familiar with the property?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very familiar.
Yeah,
Very
I've been to
familiar.
look at it.
I guess does it back up to some of the industrial sites out at the state line?
It does, but it fronts Carroll Harris Road where we've got a terrible water problem.
Is this in the recently approved through the planning and zoning and by the city, the comp plan, is this considered future expansion site of industrial property?
Good question, Mason. I don't know. There's only 10 acres there in the state of Kentucky, so I don't know. I really wish they had moved that building up, all of it up in Tennessee, so we didn't have to worry with this, but we do have a terrible water problem there on Carroll Harris Road. We have lost a life 2 or 3 years ago because of flooding. And the way I see it, what Simpson County is going to get out of this is water and a tremendous amount of traffic, which we can't regulate that. But on Witt Road, Cooper Road, it's going to be a mess right there.
Was all this brought up at the planning and zoning meeting?
I have no idea. I didn't attend that.
I'm just
meeting.
asking. It was, Jeff?
I don't know, I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, you shaking your head, yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't attend the meeting. so-
I got the maps and everything. When I look at their water retention from the property that floods, from there, just a rough guess on the elevation, it's probably 40 feet where the water retention is, basis where Snyder's property gets flooded. Now, I don't know what they're gonna do for us the site prep. Now, that part I don't know. But we're gonna have about 420 parking places on the Kentucky side, which is all asphalt, on the lower end of Cal Harris. So it just looked like to me just a potential problem.
And we're not gonna get any occupational tax out of it because all of it's in Tennessee. All the workers are, and We're not gonna get nothing,
I understand that, but I mean,
yeah.
this is done by planning and zoning, so. But I talked to Drew, he said unless the water got over the road, it wouldn't flood his property.
Pardon me?
Drew told me unless the water went over the road, they wasn't gonna put drainage onto him. But he would like, I mean, but that should all been done at planning and zoning, but he, wanted some kind of contingency in case it did flood his property, but that's just what he told me at the insurance office the other morning.
Well, they'll lose, what, 2.5, 3 acres every year. I mean, I had the same conversation with Drew, so,
But what they're losing now has nothing to do with this property, with the building they're gonna put on.
well,
Is that gonna make it worse, though? I
I've
just
seen one
wonder.
over there
Here-
before,
Okay,
so-
here's the answer to a lot of the questions that are getting asked. I would think, and I say I would think because this is typical procedure, but I do not attend hardly any planning and zoning meetings simply because I don't want to be there and ask a question.
smart.
But, I would assume, because I have been in planning and zoning commissions from time to time, not frequently, but from time to time, most all of these type of questions are addressed and dealt with in the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the members on that Planning and Zoning Commission typically feel good with what they're doing to send a recommendation to the governing body. So I can't speak to what was talked about in the meeting. I would just assume that any kind of issues would have been addressed there. If they had concerns, they probably would have either tabled this or not recommended it. So, I mean, there was a particular reason or purpose that they recommended it, I'm assuming, but I have no idea. I don't know who's made the zone change request. I don't know what's going there. I don't know what happened in the meeting where the Planning and Zoning Commission approved it. All I can tell you is we got a zone change ordinance handed to us because the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a zone change for this piece of property. That's the extent of my knowledge on it.
What customarily happens is
There we go, here we go.
I will get a packet saying this is the findings, what happened at the planning and zoning in their minutes, and then I will have a findings of fact and conclusions of law, or findings of fact, and then a copy of the transcript. Honestly, I don't read that because that's not my job. Haven't been the planning and zoning attorney for over, 15 years, for which I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong, it was a nice job, but for about 6 months I did both because we were trying to find a replacement, and I need to do one or the other, but not both. Anyway, what I'm getting at is there's a transcript. They send stuff to me and I prepare a zone change ordinance based on their recommendation. I have the transcript, I have the findings of fact. I guess you don't have to act on it today, and you can look at it and you can see what was discussed or not discussed. If you have concerns, and nobody here was at the meeting, including myself,
Marty, would you want to withdraw the motion and have the council send us the transcript for everybody to review and put on our next meeting agenda?
We can, but I'm not gonna review them because I just go by what the plan is.
I hear you, but I'm just saying, I think I can get that to people, but if that's what their concern is.
Yeah, so that's a question. Do any of you guys want to review the transcript? And
I'd read over them.
I'd like to because, of course, that just happened to be in my district and I've got multiple calls of a 1 million square foot building being built on that piece of property with parking lots and all covering up over 3.5 million square foot of dirt outside there that the water's got to go somewhere.
are you comfortable with
I'm fine.
withdrawing the motion?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to withdraw the motion, table this for action at a later date. Counselor, if you can forward that transcript to us so we can get it on the portal for the magistrates to review. You making a note there?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next, I think this next item is actually going to take two motions, because this has to do with the $77,000 reimbursable state funding for work on Evans Road. The first thing I think we need to do is make a motion and a second to authorize resolution number 2024-07-16 EVANSRD, and authorize the judge to sign that resolution. This resolution states that we will participate in this and accept that money.
So moved.
Motion by Scott.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the next part of this one would be then a motion and a second to enter into a memorandum of agreement stating that we will take that money and the state will expend the money, the state will reimburse it back to us, but it's an actual agreement separate from the resolution.
So moved, Mason.
And authorize the judge to sign it?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion by Meyer and Scott. Did you second?
Yes, sir.
Any question or discussion on that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to approve a public works advertisement for bids for truck purchase. I think these are budgeted items that we got into the new budget. We just need a motion and a second of the court to authorize the public works director to solicit bids for the truck purchase.
So much.
Got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any question, discussion? Bobby, anything you want to add? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. The next item, gentlemen, or if y'all recall, we were sent a group text message by our extension director, and obviously we can't collectively make decisions in group text and so forth. So the body of his text has been put on the portal here, and the request is for the sponsorship of the 2024 FS Farmers Market Hometown Harvest Dinner. I think the amount's $500. Obviously, we didn't budget to do that, but I think we did do it last year. The other thing, you just bear in mind something, you know, I laid a paper in front of you where there's other folks that are asking for sponsorship, that paper I laid there on your desk. So, you know, we get constantly asked to sponsor and do a lot of things, but, you know, we kind of, I guess you would say we're kind of the granddaddy or the forefathers of the FS Farmers Market. So, you know, supporting the farmers market, I think is, I'm not saying the other things aren't worthwhile, but I think supporting the farmers market is a worthwhile venture. So,
Agree.
I'll make a motion.
so Scott's got a motion that we would be a sponsor of the
Yeah.
24 at the $500
Yes, sir.
sponsorship.
Yes.
Second.
Oh, Myron said, I'm sorry. So we got a motion by Scott and a second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is, and you'll see on this next item, when you scroll down that, I'm not sure, let's see if I can get to this guy's name. Well, I can't read his name, and it don't have it typed out. But at any rate, so we're going through all this ARPA funding and trying to get everything in place to be able to do what we need to do. And the suggestion through Stites and Harbison was to move this $1,777,040.40 to lost revenue. And they've reviewed this. You see this gentleman's, or maybe a lady, I don't know, I can't read that name, has signed Stites and Harbison. They've reviewed it, sent it to us July 10th, and said this is their recommendation on how we handle this. You know, we agreed to have Stites and Harbison and Compass kind of guide us through this, so I would tend to go with their recommendation on what we do with this revenue. But we need a motion and a second to authorize my signature and to make this approval number 2.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
Second by Scott. Any question, discussion on that? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to review or approve participation in state non-congregate shelter program, and I'm going to call on our OEM director, Bob Palmer, to kind of share some on this. You know, what I can tell you is we talked a while back about trying to get like a temporary trailer from FEMA so that people are displaced because of emergencies or disasters. We've got a place that we can hook up and go. Well, we've got actually now a family that is displaced because of the Memorial Day storm still, and we have the ability to get this one from the state at no cost.
At no cost.
There'd be no cost. You know, the questions I had was you set it up like at a trailer site somewhere where typically there's monthly lot fees and all that, but you see in here, my question was, you know, what do we have that protects us if we do this, we get it, how are we protected? So like, you're gonna hook up, they're gonna be responsible for utilities and lot rent and all that sort of thing. So you see that agreement there that we've got, that we would use basically like the FEMA agreement that states what these people, what their obligations are and what they have to do. The only thing, and we can get the trailer from the state at no cost, it's just, do we want to do it? And if so, we'd have to have a motion in a second to do it and authorize the judge to sign the paperwork to get the trailer and any agreements with possible tenants that would occupy it during an emergency.
So it would only be set up when we have emergency, it'd be stored somewhere.
Yes. Like, it would only be used in events where people were displaced from their home due to an emergency, whether that be fire or storm.
We would have the capability of using it for other things,
Such as?
such as if we have an extended response for search and rescue or something, and we need a place for.
Like a mobile base.
Yeah, kind of like, not necessarily a command post, but like, it could be set up as a rest and rehab location for searchers to come in and get something to eat or rest or whatever. It could be used, it would be entirely up to us as a county organization to determine what we would want to use it for.
Okay.
Outside of having it available for storm shelter and stuff like
Of
that.
course, and I don't know if you guys did, but I read and looked over the agreement that has to be signed between the user and that would be the county in our case.
Correct.
That all seems all well and good. I guess my biggest question is, how do we determine who we get to, because here's another thing that I just think about these kind of things. Let's say that we have an event where a dozen families get displaced from their home and we have one trailer. How do we determine who gets to use the trailer?
The other communities that are doing this, it's basically first come, first served. The first family that puts their hand up and says, we need assistance, we know that you've got this, and we're asking for this.
Are there checks and balances on our end? Like if they, we got displaced, do we check, I mean, and I know this is probably an awful thing to say, but do we check and make sure that they really have the damage to the extent that they're displaced?
Yeah, because this is way after we've gone out and done damage assessments, and we already know that the house has been destroyed before. I mean, somebody may come in and say, hey, a tree fell on my house last night. We're going to go out and look and do the damage assessment that's required before we ever say, yes, we're going to put somebody in this.
So we would take this unit to a lot somewhere, we would.
Yeah, I mean, it'll sit somewhere.
So who would be responsible for lot payment and electricity,
The tenant,
the tenant.
yes.
You're talking like a KOA or something.
Yes,
Is that
either
what I'm gonna
KOA
say?
or the trailer facility out by the old Walmart, Start Trust. They have available lots that you could hook up to and.
But we would take the trailer, well, they're not gonna come get the trailer.
No,
No, we would take the trailer and set it up.
Okay,
Yeah, no one's hooking to the trailer to take it anywhere. We're taking it, setting it up, leaving it.
What size trailer is it?
it is, I can't tell you how long it is, but it'd take a 3/4 ton pickup to pull it. It's got slide outs on it. It's
So it's a camper.
yeah, travel
Yeah,
trailer.
it's like a travel camper.
It's a bigger one. I don't have the exact price that they paid for it, but it was probably $35,000-$40,000 when they paid for it in '22.
So really, our only obligation to it would be, from a financial standpoint, would be adding it, I guess, to our insurance.
Basically. We would have an obligation to the state to keep control of it for 12 months. That's an agreement we'd have to sign with the state. We'll keep it for 12 months, use it for the things that we've agreed which is the things that we've been talking about, what we'd use it for. If we did decide that we were going to sell it, the revenues off of it, within that 12 months, the revenues off of it would have to go back to the state. But
So after the 12-month period, it's solely ours.
It's completely
And if
ours.
we see there's no real use for it and decide
We
to
could
sell
sell
it, the revenue would stay with us.
Correct. And my intention is that, as you see in that agreement, it's a 30-day agreement with the tenants. I don't have intentions of going beyond that. 30 days, typically, I would think it'd be long enough for somebody to find. This is to fill a gap, is what it is. The bad thing has happened to whether it's fire, storm, whatever. They've exhausted the small amount that the Red Cross will do to help. That gives us time to get it set up. They go in, they live in it for 25, 30 days while they're finding other housing, and then they move out of it. We pick it back up and take it and put it back in storage.
So it is like if somebody's house burns down, you can use it for that.
We
It's
can
not
use it
just
for
like
that.
a tornado or flooding.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be wouldn't have to be a disaster.
Right.
Somebody's, this is determined by us. Some truck runs through somebody's house and they need a place to stay for a couple of weeks. We can use it for that. We determine what we use it for.
I mean, we're not letting people move into it because the roof's leaking and they just refuse to fix the roof.
Yeah, and it's not going to be set up and handed off to somebody for 30 days without us doing our due diligence to ensure that the people need the service.
Is this county gonna be responsible for like the storage charge of it? Like that when people are not using it?
We'll just have to find somewhere on county property
On county property just to put it?
just to leave it.
Okay.
My thoughts are, and I'd have to look, the way that they fenced in the new radio tower site, there's a lot of land on that. I don't know if there's enough room between the fence and the building to back it in there. That would be one place we could store it. I was gonna ask Bobby if there was a
We could
place.
store it out your
there.
house, Jeffrey, and you could use
Bobby
it on the
said no.
weekends.
That'd be all right, take it camping. I've been looking for a camper. Camping.
I think this is a good opportunity for us. I applied to get 2 of these things after the tornadoes and when they started releasing them to counties. I applied to get them and we was turned down. But I'm looking at this as an opportunity for us to be able to do something good for citizens when bad things have happened. They've had a real bad thing happen in their lives. And to give them an opportunity to take a breath and kind of get their wits about them, have some place that they can call home for a few weeks to get their lives together. I think this would be an excellent opportunity for us to do something good for the citizens. And really, there's we'd have to put insurance on it.
I mean, I'm good with it. It would just need a motion and a second to accept entering the agreement with the state to accept it and have responsibility of it. And part of that motion would need to be to authorize the judge's signature on the agreement with the state, but also to authorize the judge's signature on any type of 30-day lease agreement that might be necessitated by a warranting event.
Can I mention one other thing?
Yes, sir.
We was talking about the lot rent and all that stuff. One of the lots that we've been talking to try to figure out how we would do this. I'm bringing this up because I think we need to discuss it. We don't want to become financially responsible for the lot rent. But it being our piece of equipment, our travel trailer, I'm thinking it may be appropriate for us to obtain the lot ourselves and then let the tenant reimburse us versus them having to go through and put all the deposits and stuff down. That's another bunch of money that's going to come out of their pocket that I think we could probably get waived if it was us applying for the lot. I think we can make an agreement with these mobile home parks to ask them to waive that, because this could be a repetitive thing. If you've got a lot available and we've got the travel trailer, will you waive the deposit, let us come in and set it up, and then, because the water, electricity, and all that kind of stuff is all tied into the lot rent. So on the front side, to get a call and go set this thing up and get it set up and ready to roll, it may be more seamless for us to get that set up and then let them reimburse us. And it's being done both ways. I'm just saying that's another, before y'all vote on this, if you're interested, because that would make it so I could just make a phone call and say, hey, we've got a tenant that needs to come in, we've got this agreement with you, have you got a spot where we can come in and set this thing up, and then the tenant gives us the money to reimburse us for the monthly water.
Money before they move in.
Well,
Right.
I'm sorry?
They would give you the money before they move into the,
Yeah. Or we can leave it to where they're responsible. There's an application process, background check, all that kind of stuff that the lots do now to have people put travel trailers and mobile homes in these parks.
And those places do that background check themselves? I might be more inclined to go that route and let the person who will occupy that trailer go through those background checks, and that could determine whether or not they would get to use that facility anyway. Because if they fail that background check, the chances that they would reimburse us might be very slim too.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
good idea.
I just want to throw out there, there's a couple of different ways that some of the other counties are doing it. So. And I would be fine.
I think it's a good idea. I think I'm more inclined to be in favor of it if the tenant gets the background checks done and just does that themselves.
I'll make a motion.
All right? And the
Okay, I
motion
want the
is-
motion again,
and the mo-
stated.
and the
The motion is to do the travel trailer and do the background check.
Let the
And
tenant do the
it and
application.
background.
And part of that motion is authorize the judge to sign any paperwork with the state or tenants to occupy.
Correct.
Is that as clear as mud, Pam?
No,
Okay, so tell me if this is the
Go ahead.
motion. The motion is to enter the agreement with the state to receive the trailer and authorize the judge to sign it, and to authorize the judge to sign any lease agreements with potential tenants that have qualified, and to cause the tenant to go through the background check and deposit payments for any lot rent that would be available. or necessary. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, so we got a motion. Myron, did you second?
Yeah.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, gentlemen, financial business. Thank you, Bob. Financial business budget transfers. We need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to approve a cash transfer of $1,665,311.33 from the ARPA fund to the general fund. Need a motion and a second to approve that transfer, and that's just to move it and it's sitting there. It's not being expended anywhere. And the total is still the little over $2 million that is what's total available.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is a cash transfer of $80,837 from the general fund to the jail fund. Need a motion and a second to approve that.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, bills and claims. We'd need a motion and a second to approve the bills and claims as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion about the claims? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to approve the June 30th, 2024 financial statement, subject to audit, and authorize the county treasurer and the county judge to sign it.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
second by Myron. Any question or discussion to the 2024 or June 30th, 2024 financial statement? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then finally is the fiscal year 23-24 county treasurer settlement. We just need a motion and a second to approve that settlement. And I don't think, it doesn't require a signature, does it, Nicole?
No, just mine.
So moved.
So we'll authorize the county treasurer's signature on it?
Yep.
Okay, so we got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Myron. The only comment I will say is you do a great job with the budget and managing all of the different ins and outs of the budget of the entire county. So we're glad to have you doing that job, Nicole. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. On to reports, really, the only thing I have to share is this Friday and Saturday, which will be the 19th and 20th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're going to have the storm debris site open again for free.
What was that time, like?
8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Friday and Saturday both. So if there's anyone that has that remnants of any of the trees and limbs from the storm, most likely because, we'd done one and there was just a few loads, and then we skipped a week and done another one and there was just a few loads, and so we skipped a couple of weeks trying to give people time to get it all collected. So chances are that this will be the last time it'll probably be open, and hopefully we don't have another event where we're blowing trees down all over the county and need to open it again, but if need be, we'll open it again. But this Friday and Saturday, it's the old soccer complex out off of Kenneth Utley Drive, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., tree debris, drop site will be open. free to Simpson County residents to drop their stuff in there. Myron, you have anything?
No report.
Scott?
No, sir.
Jeffrey?
No report.
Marty? Counselor?
Nope.
Sheriff?
No report, sir.
Mr. Clerk? Brent, anything from the jail?
No.
Everything. Bob, do you have anything other than, okay. Bill, anything with maintenance? Nelson, anything with the fire department? Finally have a taker.
Just want to take a minute and thank everybody that was involved from this past weekend with the Ethan Neal fundraiser. The totals in, they raised about $25,000 for him and his family. So thanks to all those that were involved, either auctioning or donating items. We had a pretty good turnout. I don't know a number, but I'd say 300-400
There were several people that.
consistently. So just thank everybody. If you still would like to donate to Ethan and his family, you can go out to our Facebook page at the fire department. There's still QR codes, and you can Venmo to him whatever you would like. His family would be very appreciative of it. So thank everybody.
And I would add to that, Nelson, you could see with the work that your guys doing with the fire department, how much that group of folks care about one another. And so the public understands too, Ethan is one of the volunteer firefighters here. And your guys, you, the chief, and all of the firefighters, both full-time and volunteers, where they were out in force and done a lot of work that day.
It was definitely a group effort, and we appreciate everybody that was involved in any way. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nelson. Bobby, anything for the road department? All right, gentlemen, I do need to get a motion and a second to enter into executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph 1C, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency, and paragraph L, discussion which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
So moved.
Got a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, we're going to take about